Okay, Ronaldo. This is what's being reported this morning. Apparently he's seeking urgent talks with manager Erik ten Hag. That's when he comes back into training this week. He's made it quite clear he wants to leave Manchester United because he wants to go play in the Champions League, Ali. No surprise.
Yep. Yes, his representatives reportedly also sounded out Chelsea and Bayern. Well, Napoli are also interested.
Wow.
On the weekend sports breakfast yesterday, former Ireland striker Tony Cascarino said he owes it to United to stay.
This feels he owes them. It's not like he's been brought back and he's going to be the Messiah. I think he owes them a bit because they took him back to a football club that he had so much success at, and it's going to be a difficult year. But don't think of your own accolades this season. Think about, I'll still try and get goals. I'll still try and do my best, but for the team as well and the club.
Okay, that was Tony Cascarino speaking at the weekend. I suppose he owes it to them as so far as he signed a contract. I think it was a 2-year contract, but let's find out a bit more about this because I'm delighted to say we have the Guardian's Manchester football writer Jamie Jackson on the line. Good morning, Jamie.
Good morning, Jamie. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Good morning, good morning.
Good morning, mate. There's a part of me that's not surprised and a part of me that is with this. It's no surprise to me that he wants to play Champions League football. Obviously, he's a complete winner, one of the most successful players that we've seen. So it's not a surprise to me that he wants to chase Champions League football. But what is it, another year left in his contract?
Yeah, it's 1 year left, Laura, so this time next sort of year he'd be out of contract. Yeah, it's no surprise. On the one hand, I think if he was to leave, it eases a Ten Hag headache because I don't think he plays every week in a sort of hard, fast-pressing sort of style that Erik ten Hag adheres to. But on the other hand, they haven't really got any replacements at the club. I mean, the only player, really, if you're looking at that squad currently, who definitely can and has played there, and we can all discuss how successful he's been, would be Marcus Rashford. I suppose one way of maybe looking at it is if he doesn't leave now, at least Ten Hag and fans, etc., could sort of be within the rights, and Ronaldo himself to sort of, well, if you're going to be on the bench every now and then, Cristiano, you did kind of want to leave, so there's kind of more reason there. You understand what I mean? Because it's a bit difficult to drop in without all the sort of hoo-ha around it. But yeah, I mean, the fact that they're sort of relying on a 37-year-old who, yes, as you've just said, has been one of the greats, but is no longer of that level, as Manchester United relying on that player as your centre forward shows kind of the mess the squad's in, really.
Jamie, do you know what I'm certain that actually what you've just said? I think if he doesn't fit into the way Ten Hag plays, I think you'd never admit it in a court of law, but I think Ten Hag might be secretly quite happy, or if not quite happy, pretty accepting of the decision to let him go, because as you touched on, it kind of does take away a problem. Plus the fact, Jamie, it makes sense if Ten Hag is going to come in here and build a team and be given time to build a team for the future. There's certainly 2 or 3 United players won't be involved in that, and Ronaldo will certainly be one of them. So it kind of eases a slight problem for him. Also, I want to ask you, mate, how do the United fans see this? I mean, I don't necessarily agree with Cass saying that he owes United to stay. Where I think he should be saying is the fact is that he signed a 2-year contract, so you look to honour that contract. But I'm not sure he owes United an awful lot. How do the fans see it?
Yeah, it's probably a little bit of a mix. If I was to sort of make a sort of educated guess. Obviously, they love him. He's a hero. He's done so much for the club and etc. But others are thinking, well, if you want to leave, off you go, sort of thing, as fans often do, quite rightly. I just think he's a symptom of the sort of problems at United. He did very well last season, but he was still the wrong signing. It's not his fault, obviously, but Ole Gunnar Solskjaer should have gone, and I keep on saying this for, yes, a central midfielder. It's De Jong this summer. It might have been Declan Rice last year under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So I just think it's interesting. Manchester City last summer, Pep Guardiola had a long look at Ronaldo, and in the end, if he wanted him, Guardiola could have had him, but he vetoed it, as I understand it. He looked at Ronaldo and thought, no, not for me. Maybe for reasons we'd probably guess. You score a hatful, but it become a bit of a sideshow. So yeah, I don't think. I mean, you know what fans are like. They just want the team to do well. Of course they do. So it's, I think it does ease a headache if he leaves, and I'd be surprised now if he does stay. Obviously, United stances, he's not for sale. He's got a year left on his contract, but it'll be interesting because he's back in training today, Cristiano, after his sort of 3 weeks break, having from when he last played, I think for Portugal it was. So I think in the long run, this plays well for Ten Hag, because whether he stays, whether he goes, it sort of strengthens Ten Hag's hand, as I sort of referred to, because he's basically let it be known that he wants to leave. So even if he wasn't to, we now know this. Ten Hag knows this, that the rest of the team knows this, the club knows this, the Glazers know this. So there's every more reason. I'm sure he would have done this. He would have done this anyway. But there's even more reason for Ten Hag to be within his rights, to rest him every now and then. But as I say, if he's still they fly on tour to Bangkok on Friday. Will he be on the plane? I mean, it's a sideshow, isn't it? Whether he's, if he's on that plane and there is nothing definitive about his future, it becomes, I'm flying out the next day to cover the tour. It becomes basically one of the many big issues. That Ten Hag has to sort of deal with.
Apparently, he's been told that he must fly to Thailand on Friday for that pre-season tour. I just wondered, Jamie, what's the value? What's his value, do you think, at the moment, if another club was to come in for him?
Yeah, I thought about this sort of yesterday evening. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I think when he signed, was he about 15 to 20 million? So I'm going to guess it's, if you mean in terms of a transfer fee, probably about that. But then you go on to sort of, as with the clip you just played there with regard to Napoli, his sort of value commercially is I mean, the stance will be he has to be on the plane, sort of officially, if you like, or unofficially off the record, however you want to describe it. But I don't know, really. Again, I'd be surprised if his future will be sort of finalised by Friday. So, well, on the one hand, he has to be on the plane. He's a big player for them, and he's still a United player, and he's a big attraction. It's still not desirable, but I think in the long run, what we're seeing here is maybe Ten Hag might look back on this, depending on how it plays out, I think, in the long term, for him, for the team, this is the right thing to sort of have Ronaldo maybe leave the club, or at least know exactly where he stands, Ronaldo stands with regard to sort of wanting to leave. Because as I keep on saying, I just don't see a United team with him in it week in, week out, match in, match out, doing what they want to be doing, which is, basically in the end challenging again, because they're sort of so far off that this is part of that rebuild that I think everyone understands, especially Ten Hag, that has to be done.
I just think, Jamie, I honestly believe right now it'd be the best thing for both parties for him to leave the club. I do. I just think that these noises haven't come out. There's not pure chance. They've been leaked out deliberately, right? And they'll be you can guarantee, as we touched on earlier, Jamie, that his representatives will be having a sniff about whether it's Chelsea, Napoli, all these clubs, to see if there's any interest. And if there is interest, I honestly think it would suit all parties that he should go.
Yeah, I mean, what's also of interest, Ali, Laura, and obviously the listeners, is I think he's on about £490,000 a week. I mean, that's, who's going to pick up those that salary? This is an interesting one. You just wonder, actually, okay, it's Cristiano Ronaldo, but he's a 37-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo, and on that salary, well, I mean, how do you sort of accommodate that? There's not many clubs basically that can. So again, this is an interesting part of it, and as I understand it, I don't think there's been any actual bid for Ronaldo yet. I mean, that obviously means nothing at the moment because it's sort of in the early days of this. But that the salary, and again, that's another reason why, as you're saying, Ali, I think we're all saying, maybe why, if he was to leave, it wouldn't be a bad thing for United, because it would that salary there pays a sort of £50,000 pound a week, sort of tenfold, if you understand what I mean. It frees up a massive slice of their budget to sort of maybe bring in other players. So, I don't think in the long run it's a bad thing. But the timing of it isn't great. But I suppose if he was going to leave, it's going to happen now. The sort of noises when he comes back for pre-season training, and in the long term, I think United sort of probably need to move on from him.
Okay, Jamie, thank you very much for your thoughts.
Thanks,
this morning.
Jamie.
talkSPORT Breakfast with Laura Woods, Monday to Wednesday mornings 6 till 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.